Welcome to the Real Board Loft. I'm Forman, and today we're going to be talking about the AIPA Sting, and the one that we have here is in the Dark Arts all carbon construction. So I got it in my Creatures day bag right here just because this board coming out of the bag, it's kind of Darth Vader-ish actually. So we'll take it out and get into our review. So AIPA Sting, bunch of stuff going on in this board. Obviously, it's in all carbon Dark Arts, and so it's light, it's durable, good performance in this construction, and you're going to get a classic shape with performance added, but also durability added. Like the longevity of the board is going to be really, really good. So let's talk a little bit about the Sting. Ben AIPA came out with this design in the 70s, and it's cool to see this thing come back, especially now in the uprise of mid-lengthening, and like kind of what this does for your what this can do for your surfing and what it does for your surfing when you're surfing this board. So the board that I'm surfing is a 6'8", and the dimensions on this board are 6'8", 20 and a half, 3 1/4, 43.8 liters. And it's shaped by Ben's son, Duke AIPA. And actually a cool thing about this board, this whole series of boards that we rode and that are also in our shop in Dark Arts, Duke shaped right after his dad, Ben, passed away. And Duke relayed to us, he's like, I got to tell you, it was, as far as the grieving process of losing my dad and being able to think about it in a positive way, there was nothing more positive than shaping the Sting, you know, in his dad's honor, and stocking the shop up with AIPA Sting. So that was really, really cool to hear. And I've had a blast surfing this board so far to date. So that when I run my leash strings really, really short, LLS is not going to take me out. Whoa! But dropping it might. Let's get this clutter out of here. Okay, so when you hear 3 1/4 in thickness, you're like, whoa, is that thick? But looking at this board, it's really easy to tell that 3 1/4 is only right on the stringer. This board is tapering from there all the way down, and the rails on this board are actually really, really foiled out. So only 3 1/4 up the middle, and then nothing on the rail, especially when you get back here in the tail behind the Sting wing. Back here, it gets really, really thin. But even up here, like you got a lot of meat, like in the center of the board, like I would say, like on the spread of my fingers, but it's also doming right there as well. So you get out past here, it starts getting really thin. It does have a nice beak all the way to the nose as well. Relatively flat rocker. And while we're talking about rocker, one thing that is going on the bottom is it has a step in the bottom. And I had my own thoughts about, hey, why is that there? But then also talking with Duke, he as relayed through his dad, about why they did that and what their ideas were there. So in talking with Duke, the reason that they put this step in there in the design, and you could also see it's kind of timed with where the Sting wing is, it's just a little bit in back of it, is this was an early version of what they were trying to do now with single concaves, is that they're trying to create a step in the rocker and some air and some turbulence in the back to get the board to lift up on top of the water and not getting sucked down into the water. The wing is a couple different things. One, it keeps volume and width and stability forward, and then it makes the tail so that when you really get the board going fast, which it will get going really fast, it makes the tail narrower so you can control that speed. It also puts a big bend, a big release point in the outline of the board, which allows you to pivot off of that wing when you're turning it. And what you can't see looking at this board, like if you're looking at a photo of it or even maybe in the video right now, is there's also shaping going on in the wing. So rather than just having the board come in at the wing, it's also the wing itself is shaped down, so it gets really thin right here at the end of it. It's full thickness here, and then it goes down to really thin right here. and then that allows the wing at speed to penetrate down into the water. So that's a little bit what's going on with the Sting. The Sting bump in the outline right here, or the Sting wing right here, gives you release and pivot in the turns, and it also makes the tail narrower so you can control the speed. That Step, again, is early versions of what they're doing now with a single concave running through the board. What I felt in this board is it was cool because it's longer. I mean, we have these things in stock 6.0 up to a little bit over 7 in this design, and then we also have the big boy Stings up to like 8.6. But what I found in the Sting is forward of the Sting, the board's wider. It has more glide, it has more momentum. In back of the Sting, it also has the ability to control that speed, and it has the ability to pivot off of that Sting wing right there. The Step in the bottom, definitely the tail doesn't get like sucked down in the water. There's definitely some looseness to the tail and a little bit more lift to the tail. But also it feels, if you look at it, you're actually adding more rocker because you're going here and then you're immediately jumping down to here. And so when you're trimming, like when you're kind of trimming and your feet are here and here, if you then take your feet and then move your back foot back, it's literally almost like you're giving the board a little bit more rocker, and you could really hammer the turn a little bit harder off the way back on the board than you can if your back foot's here, which obviously you could do that on any board, but having that bend point right here on the rocker line, it seems like it gives it a lot more maneuverability, bringing it back almost like a kicktail would on a skateboard, but it's on the bottom of the board rather than on the top of the board. Looking at other things on this board, if you're riding mid-lengths, if you're riding a lot of, like, you know, typically right now I'm riding a lot of 7.2 to 7.6 mid-lengths, going down to this thing in a 6.8, it has that same type of mid-length flow, but it has the ability to get more shortboardy in the turns. So you can trim it, you can like kind of get up on the high line and glide it, but you can also get your foot back and jam like a way harder turn than you can on something longer and something flatter. So super fun board. I think the fin sizing is also really important. One of the things that that Duke relayed to us, like 8 1/4 on these fins, on these boards is 8, you know, 8 1/4 is kind of minimum on these. And so a lot of mid lengths are going smaller on fins. I know that like kind of the 7.5 skip fry is kind of the go-to for a lot of mid lengths. But Duke was pretty adamant about, hey, make sure that you do not underfin it, where a lot of the other boards, a lot of the other single fins, it's do not overfin it. But this one's a do not underfin it. So this is the Christensen 8.5 by FCS. And NVS actually makes a fin specifically for this board, which is the NVS AIPA de clutch. And that one's an 8 1/4. And so that fin right there, this fin also works really well. And then it has a box with some good adjustment in it, so you can move the fin all the way forward to get the thing super loose. But then once you start noticing that the tail's spinning out, then you start moving it a little bit back at a time, just to make sure that you're not going to be going down the wave sideways. So good adjustment as far as the maneuverability. You can move it a little bit further forward in small waves, a little bit further back, like for better hold, or if it's barreling. So was really impressed with the Dark Arts construction. This board has a bunch of sessions on it and a bunch of new wax jobs on it, and the deck is still holding together really well. It's just a really, really fun board, and good performance, especially in waves. You know, if it was a super soft kind of junky day, like there's gonna be better boards, but it still works. But once the surf starts to get a little bit more push, this thing is just really, really lights up and is a ton of fun to surf. And you could definitely feel the AIPA Aloha coming out through Duke's hands, and just the performance and just, you know, kind of just all around feel of the board is awesome. I had a great time riding it. Like I said, I was riding like a bunch of 7.2 to 7.6 mid lengths prior to this, and then getting on this, like the feeling the performance and also just the lightweight was really nice. But just the maneuverability and the ability to start getting back into like better turns and like kind of better wave positioning was super, super fun. So this is the AIPA Sting, and it's in Dark Arts construction. If anybody out there has any questions on this board or would like to order one, you can always give us a call at the shop, 252-987-6000, or look us up online, realwatersports.com/surfing. Thanks for tuning in.